everybody.
Hello.
Hello. I'm just going to give it a second for some people to come in. I just wanted to start off by saying welcome to the Power of Potential podcast. Can you hear me, by the way? Am I okay?
Sorry, I can hear you. You're good.
Okay. The place where usually it's Sophie and I, but Sophie had something to deal with this week. So it's just me and our special guest, Andrea, today
Hello.
to help you mold your mindset to manifest success through open and honest conversations about real life experiences. And today, I am so excited that we have Andrea here to talk about money manifesting because I, for one, this week especially, have really been doing my best to manifest some money. And I'm always, doing my best to manifest money. And I think that that's what most people think of when they hear the word manifestation is money. And I was like, let's get Andrea on here because she knows a thing or two about that. So yeah, if you want to introduce yourself, feel free.
Yeah, so I am Andrea. I am a money and manifestation coach. I help lovely human beings basically figure out what they're aligned with in order to make more money, and just call in more money into their life, but also help you increase your savings, pay off your debt, and really just follow your true calling. So that's what I do.
I love that. That's amazing. I feel like everyone, or at least everyone that I align with, we all kind of share that similar goal of,
Mhm.
really empowering people to do things their way and in their own,
Right,
highest aligned way versus like, this is what I do, so you have to
right.
do that.
Yeah, I know. We're all about, helping people discover what their true, what they're really being called to do. Because that's also something I struggled with for a long time before I got to where I am now. I had started two businesses, like an Amazon and an Etsy business, and they worked for a little while. They called in the money a little bit, but then they kind of trailed off and they didn't take me to where I wanted to be. And then I wasn't actually aligned with them. Once I
Mhm.
actually decided, I need someone to help me figure this out so I can actually get on the right path, that's when the true change started to happen. Because before that, I was just trying to replicate what other people were doing online, and it wasn't actually aligned with my purpose and what really fit me the best.
Yes, I
Yeah.
have definitely been down the same path. I
Hmm.
started a couple of businesses as well. One of them was Etsy, that was the first one,
Hmm.
which, yeah, it did call in a little bit, but, it's not sustainable,
Yeah.
when you're not, directly tied to, the mission and stuff like that. And then the
Right.
second one as well that I started, it was also kind of, replicating what someone else had done,
Hmm. Exactly.
which is not sustainable. So I'm really glad that you're being open and honest about that and sharing that
Yeah.
because no one really does, and it matters. It matters.
It really does. It really does. And versus just trying to wing it. That's where it's you really don't know what you're doing, and then you get caught in this cycle of just you're trying to figure something out, that you want more out of life, but then you're not really sure where to go from there. And some things might work for a little while, but then they just kind of trickle off, and it's just all about finding your soul's purpose.
Mhm. Definitely. Um, so to start things off, I wanted to kind of give an overall arc of, who you are and how you've gotten to this point, just so that people can see, this is a real person's perspective. This isn't like some Fortune 500 CEO that's telling you to
Right.
just have happy thoughts.
Mhm.
This is a real person who also, you know, knows how to do these things and has made major transformations in your life. If you guys aren't familiar with her, she is a money and manifestation coach. And I went to one of her workshops that she did. It was a freebie workshop and it was amazing. And I learned a lot. And so I was hoping that you would touch on uh, like overcoming your debt, because you talked about how you were in debt and you were constantly spending, and like these things were obviously not helping you to call in more money because you're just spending it all. So if you want to share more about
Right.
your story and your experiences, that would be really great.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess to start off, I for like I don't know, I would say like at least like 5 years, I had this like deep internal feeling that I knew that there was something more for me in this life. Like I knew that I wanted more, I deserved better, and I also never really aligned with just picking like a career and going with that. That was something that was just never like I didn't want to be kept and held down. And I wanted to be able to do, like whatever really called to me, whatever really lit me up. And it took a lot of work to get there, but that's basically like where like to get to where I am now. But it took me so many trials and errors of figuring out what really lit me up and like fired me up. So I always had this internal feeling that I wanted more out of life. And throughout the years, like I said, I had, started the Amazon business and the Etsy business, and they didn't bring me in what I wanted. And so, I mean, like, starting from that point, at least I knew that I wanted more. So that was like,
Wait,
the
wait,
big
wait.
first thing that,
Can we stop for a second?
oh
Because
yeah.
I think it might not be connected right now. I
Oh,
have to
okay.
double check.
Hmm.
Oh wait, is it working? Oh no, it's working. Okay. I don't know why on my
That's
end.
okay.
On my end here, it's saying that there's an error, and I was like, "Oh my god, wait,
Hmm.
never mind." Sorry to cut you off.
No worries, no worries. It's
Continue.
fine. You're fine. So basically, getting like at least I figured out that I knew that I wanted more from life, and I just had to figure out where to go from there. And so one of my biggest passions was working with animals. So I had always when I was a kid, I was dreamed of being a veterinarian, and I ended up just becoming a veterinary technician. And so I worked with animals for a really long time. I like for like 10 years I've been working with animals, and it got to a point of like, yes, I love doing this and this is like one of my passions, but it wasn't the thing that was going to bring me the abundance, the wealth. Like I really was capped at that position. And um I I came across a coach that had the things that I wanted and was on her manifestation journey, and it was totally like out of left field for me. It was something completely new. I had literally never heard about it, never I literally had no knowledge around any of it. And her just finding her on Instagram and starting to talk to her was like I really realized that that was what was calling to me. And as uncomfortable as it was to invest that money into someone else, so that they could teach me the things that I wanted to like so I could get to where I wanted to be, that was what changed my life. Like making that investment into myself and doing something completely like out of left field, out of the box, was not something that I had tried before or even thought about trying. And then everything just fell into place. I learned like everything that I needed to know from her, and I was able to pay off all of my debt, increase my savings to over 10K, and just build the life that I wanted to live of freedom, and then continue from there. And then that's where I kind of fell into wanting to teach others how to do that, because that is part of my mission, to show people that it is so achievable. I'm not somebody that came from this wealthy family, so it's like I started from this bottom point of feeling stuck in life and wanting more, and then I built off of that, and there was a lot of trial and error, and finally something clicked, and it was like that thing that was outside my comfort zone, the one thing that was like I didn't realize that I needed to do. That was the biggest step, was investing in myself and finding somebody who had the things that I wanted, and I took everything that she taught me and ran with it, and then it brought me to this point. So that's why I'm here now.
That is so awesome. I'm just like grinning ear to ear listening to that because I feel like, I mean, I'm so similar. I've
Yeah.
definitely felt that pull as well for myself of like, I know that I can do more and I want more and I don't want to be tied down to
Yeah.
just one thing, which to me, I kind of just attribute that to being a manifesting generator. But like,
Mhm.
um,
Right.
so that's, yeah, I really relate to that. And I feel like, when you said that it came out of left field, it's so funny that you mentioned that because we were talking about moments like that in the previous 2 episodes that we recorded, and
Mhm.
even just this week, I was facing something that really kinda just came out of nowhere, and it seemed to, like, be the perfect opportunity that just plopped in my lap to
Yeah.
get me to where I want to go, and so it's just, like, again, investing yourself in, like, taking those leaps that you know are going to help you, like, it's not like you're
Right.
just gambling something, it's like you've thought about it a lot and you
Mhm.
know what you want and you can see that this will really help you, so you have to just
Yeah.
take that leap and go for it because
Exactly.
like you said, what's on the other side is so much better. Now you have all of this freedom and these skills and you've cleared your debt and you have 10K in savings, which congratulations, that is amazing.
Thank you.
I used to have 10K in savings and then I squandered it, but it's okay.
Yeah. Gonna come back. So.
Yeah, it will for sure. It'll come back tenfold, they
Mhm.
say.
Right. Right.
Um, so this kind of brings me to another question, which is what is manifesting to you? I feel like everyone has their own definition of what it is.
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear what your take on it
Yeah.
is.
So manifesting is kind of like the fancy term of calling more things into our lives, like that's like the fancy um fancy coaching term, fancy spiritual term. Like it's just manifesting itself is just used for so many. It's just like a cap, or not a cap, just like an envelope. I don't know. You know what I'm
Like
trying to
an
say.
umbrella term?
Yeah, yeah. To all these amazing things. So really, I to me manifesting is about calling those experiences and the wealth and the freedom and the happiness into our lives. But also, along with calling those things in, taking the action to achieve those things.
Yes.
And one huge thing about, manifesting abundance and all of those lovely things and freedom, taking action, but aligned to action is the best. Like that's going to get you to where you want to be. So figuring out what aligns with you the most and then running with that is like the key to achieving the things that you desire.
Hmm.
So that's
Yeah.
really like what it took me a long time to get to that point too, like I had said, of being aligned truly with what lit up your soul, and then took you to the next level and getting outside your comfort zone. So it's like manifesting is just, yeah, this umbrella for all these other amazing things to come into your life. You just have to be you have some sort of direction towards where you want to go, and then just take the steps towards them, even if you don't know where you're going or exactly what the next step is. You don't have all the knowledge. That's okay. Like as long as you are making some kind of progress, you're growing no matter what.
Hmm.
So that's really what manifestation means to me.
I love that. So, like, you talked about how it has to do with, a lot of it is to do with feeling aligned and taking that aligned action.
Hmm.
So, I wanted to ask, what does like that aligned action look like and feel like for you? Like, how do
Yeah.
you personally discern for yourself, or how can others discern for themselves
Hmm.
how to decide if this is, something that's going to help you or if it's going to, steer you off. Which, like, honestly, now that I say it, I never really think anything steers you off, but
Right.
you know what
Right.
I mean.
Yeah, I think sometimes it can be kind of hard to decipher between what is like the best next step for us. But I think as long as you're shooting, you're shooting for the moon, you're gonna land amongst the stars, like they say. No matter like where you're going, you're gonna figure it out, even if that route isn't straight on, you're gonna get there somehow. So
Mhm.
it can be very hard to figure that out. But I think it really, like, you just have to try something, try what lights you up, and then go from there. Just like when I had started my manifestation journey after I hired my first coach, she took me to a whole another level of inner work. And that's where it really started for me, was doing that inner work to discover, like, that's why the way I am, and that's why I make those decisions, and that's why I've always felt this weird feeling about, a certain subject. That's like diving deep and breaking down those inner walls just helps you unleash this new version of yourself that you can continue to grow and then really work towards what you want to work towards, because we are our biggest, like, we hold ourselves back so much. We
Mhm.
don't even like realize it
Mhm.
intentionally. Um, but for me, like, getting aligned really had to do with focusing in on doing the inner work and discovering what was blocking me and how I was blocking myself from
Mhm.
reaching my goals.
Yes.
So that's like really where it starts, and getting like, we could get aligned in so many different ways, right? It all kind of goes off of each individual, and it's so different. But one thing that's always worked for me is like music. I talked about that in one of my master classes, that like dancing and music brings me to this new mood of like, I can do this shit.
Mhm.
And
Same.
then at that point, once I'm like all hyped up, I sit down and I start taking steps in my business. Like, okay, what do I need to focus on today? And I focus on that, and then I get it done. And it just feels so good to be like, you know,
Mhm.
be making progress, but it's all about doing the small steps first, if
Mhm.
that makes sense.
Yeah, I want to mainly focus on as well in our conversation today about the limiting beliefs and like the psychology of
Hmm.
manifesting your money, because it is about the inner work more than anything. You can
Right.
say, I'm manifesting $5,000 all you want, but if you don't actually believe and trust
Hmm.
that you can have it and that it's safe for you to have it, you're
Yeah.
not going to have it. And I know this from experience because I am
Right.
like a really good manifester, but like subconsciously. Like for me,
Hmm.
my method is like just not trying. Like that is kind of the best way that I've been able to achieve things. It's just by
Yeah.
like setting it and forgetting it.
Hmm.
Basically, just saying like I want this and I'm gonna have it, and then I'm just gonna wait for it to happen.
Right. Yeah.
But
And
obviously, I do take action. But
yeah,
um, when it
there's so
comes
many good
to when it comes to money, though, I feel like that's kind of the toughest thing for me to manifest
ones. Hmm.
because I know that I have issues with like accepting money for things
Hmm.
because I have a lot of like guilt around that.
Right.
And so I think that it's important for people to know and to identify what are the things that are actually preventing you from that, because it's not that you
Hmm.
can't do it or it's not possible, it's that there's something that's preventing you from having it.
Right.
So you have to like really think to yourself, what is that thing? Because some things you can manifest super easily, and like it's like when you take note of that, it makes it easier. For
Mhm.
example, from my own personal experiences, before I even was aware of what manifesting was, I was manifesting all the time and I just didn't even know it.
Mm.
One of my like greatest manifestations that, like, I remember it clear as day. It was, my last job that I had. Um, it was a sales position at a shoe store, and that's the position that I wanted. I was coming from another shoe store as a cashier, but I was like, "You know what? I would rock at sales, and
Mhm.
I want to do sales." But I don't wanna be paid, like, chicken change to do
Right.
sales because I acknowledge that I am doing this service for you, and I'm doing it well, and I'm making you money, so I deserve to be compensated for that,
Right, right.
right? And so I had said for myself, I want to get a sales job in shoes. I want to get paid 15 an hour, which at the time it was $1 more than minimum wage where I live.
Mhm.
So I was saying I want to get 15. If I can get commission, great. If I can't, then I have to get 15. Like that's my non-negotiable.
Right.
And I stuck with that because I am very stubborn and I want what I want. And so I think that's also part
Mhm.
of why I manifest so easily is because I just want what I want and I don't care what
Yeah.
anyone else has to say because trust me, there were people. I went to job interviews and when it came to pay and they didn't want to pay me, I said, "No worries, goodbye." And they
Mhm.
said, "You'll never find a job that's going to pay you that." And I said,
Oh,
"Watch me." And
right.
then, what do you know? I get this offer for 15 plus commission. And it was the best thing ever. And it was so great.
That's
So
amazing.
it's like the mental really has to do with it and like believing that you can have it. Um, and then I feel like there was more that I was going to say on that, but I lost my train of thought. Um, uh, but basically, moral of the story is see, I lost my train of thought now. I don't know what I was going to say.
Okay. That always happens to me. I literally have to make notes and I, because I will totally go off on a tangent and then lose what I was talking about.
Yeah, same. I'm like, anyways, so what was I saying? But my point was the backgrounds and the beliefs and the blocks is really important to allowing you to do that. Oh, Emily says,
Mhm.
I manifest with plants. I found that somehow it works for me. I have never heard that before, but that's so cool. I
Oh
have
my
a
gosh.
plant that I used for manifesting success in my business and it's thriving. I actually just got a money tree this week and I put two dimes in it because I'm trying to manifest $2,000. So I was like two dimes, 2,000, and then
Mhm.
I put my aventurine. So we'll see how that goes. I love that though. That's great.
I, yeah, that's amazing. I actually am a very fond plant lady. I have tons of them. I actually have a ton of them. I have a whole
Oh wow, they're
greenhouse.
thriving.
I literally have a whole greenhouse right there. And then I have like have a whole tree in front of me. So I get that. And plants totally up level your energy. I don't even understand how, like, it's crazy, but I think actually last year when I really when I dove into my whole manifestation journey, I actually became really in love with plants. Like out of nowhere, I had never actually like had any interest in gardening, dirt, getting dirty, taking care of like other living things. The only thing I've ever taken care of is my cats. So like I had no experience with any of it. And then out of nowhere, literally around the same time last year, I was like, I love plants and I'm going to surround myself with them. And I literally turned my house into a jungle.
I
And
love that.
like, and then from there, it's just like my favorite thing to do. Like, even when I'm feeling like kind of down, I will literally go sit in front of my greenhouse and just like sit there, look at my plants, and then I feel better. Like, it's so weird. They really do bring your
Hmm.
energy to
They
a whole new level
do.
and they help you manifest. I don't know like what it is, but also, they're green. They're really money and they just
Yeah.
go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it gets me so excited. Like I totally get that, Emily.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. Like, I was never really someone that enjoyed the outdoors just because of like the bugs and everything. But
Yeah.
like the further I get, like, in my own journey, I'm like, I just need to be outside. Like, I don't wanna be inside
Same.
anymore. And, like,
Mhm.
going for walks and being, like, around the trees and the nature and the water and stuff like that is, like, so good. It's so good for
Yes.
you. And, I think, well, my theory on why the plants are a good thing for that is because, and this kind of ties into the whole principle of, like, the pentacles suit, um, in tarot. Because, like money, when it comes to planting things, you plant it, you take care of it, and it takes time. You don't
Right.
know if what you're doing is going to give you a plant or if it's going to, not work out. And so it's like the more you do that, the more confident you get because you learn, okay, it needs
Right.
this type of soil, it needs this type of humidity, it needs this type of this amount of watering and like this
Yeah.
kind of sunlight. And like over time, you get better and better. And then it's like the same thing with money is like you just learn these things. You learn how
Mhm.
to set up and create an environment for your money that's going to help it thrive.
Yes. That is such a good, like, I never really thought about it like that, but that makes so much sense. Like, you just have to try, and then, like, look what happens. I love
Yeah.
that. I love that.
And like you can just, make mistakes or you can try and do research and then try to apply that and then, see how things go. And you have to like be very, calculated with what you're doing. Because
Yeah.
obviously, if you live in Canada like me, it's not great to get a tropical plant and put it outside.
Right.
So
Mhm.
things like that. Emily left another comment. She said, "You
Mhm.
can use money, or you can write your manifestation on a piece of paper, and when you repot it, if the plant grows, it means you're working towards it, and if it starts to wilt, you need to redirect." I need
Mm.
to start doing that because that actually sounds so good.
Yeah, yeah. I actually really like that. I will have to try that because that
Thanks, Emily. Great
hmm,
tips here. Love
yeah,
that. Love
yeah.
with the
That's
plants.
that's really cool. I've never heard that either, so we'll try it. I'll try anything.
Yeah, literally. And it's actually funny that she says that because I had my money tree on my windowsill so it can get sunlight. But it like one of the leaves started wilting, and I was like, "What is going
Yeah.
on?" And my mom was like, it's way too cold for that plant in here." And I was like, "Okay." So then we just moved it, and hopefully it doesn't die, because that would
Yeah.
suck for me. But
Yeah.
I'm trying. I'm like not really good with plants, but I'm really trying.
Well, I got you, girl. If you need help, I got you. It's like every plant. And I have 2, well, I had 2 money trees. One of them I thought had some weird issue. It had, like, something going on with its bark,
Mm.
and I ended up kind of giving up on it, even though it was still kind of alive, but I was like, "Girl, I don't think you're gonna make it." Um, so that one didn't work out, but I have another money tree. The other one is super tall, and at some point, it had, like, a few dying leaves. I don't know, it was kind of finicky, and then I cut those off, and it was, like, literally thriving, but it was all choppy, like, it had all these, like, bald spots, so I had to lop it, and then that was right around winter time, and I actually hadn't watered it all winter because I thought it was dormant because it was freezing, and I was just like, "I'm gonna leave this plant, like, let it do its own thing," and, it started growing out of nowhere. Like, literally, I had not watered it in, like, 4 months because I was just like, "It's not producing any leaves, it's literally just the trunk," and, I was just letting it do its own thing. I'm like, "It'll be fine, I'll start watering it again soon," and it out of nowhere, like, I hadn't looked at it in months and looked at it randomly one day, and it had, like, all these little sprouts coming out. I was like, "Where did that come from?" And, now she's doing good too, but yeah,
I
they can
love
be a
that.
little fussy sometimes.
I love that though. But circling back to
Mhm, mhm.
identifying the blocks, and even if we're going to take this whole plant metaphor thing into it, like if you see that your tree or your bank account is wilting, it's not thriving the way you want it to thrive. How can you identify what the issue is?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I can talk a little bit about that. So, I feel like recognizing where we're kind of self-sabotaging ourselves is, like, the biggest, like, that is the biggest thing to kind of figure out. I think a lot of people have trouble with emotional spending, and that was a huge thing for me, was that, like, I whenever I'd feel sad or something like kind of crappy happened or I had like a bad day at work, I was like, I'm gonna go on Amazon or Etsy and like just find something to like, I don't know, something that like really made me excited. And then I'd buy it. And it was like that temporary happiness. And then after that, you're kind of like, great, that was fun. But now I'm like still feeling down. And that's how we like get caught in this loop of like spending money, even though we have these goals that we want to work towards, but we're just kind of like, we're keeping ourselves in this cycle because we're not actually healing our past like trauma or our relationship with money. And that can come from a lot of different places, from things that we've learned from our parents, and just life experiences growing up. So, really, to try to figure out where those limiting beliefs are coming from, the things that are blocking us, we have to do that inner work. And I would say, like, the best place to start is to try to realize and recognize where you're coming from when you're spending money. So, like, what emotional state you're in, um,
Mhm.
how you're feeling that day, like physically or mentally, figure out how you're feeling and then decide like, okay, do I really need this? Like, or should I be putting my money elsewhere and putting it towards like my bigger goals? And that's like the very first step, is that recognition.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's a really great point because I know for me, I've gone through periods where I was really good with, not spend or, I spend because obviously I'm not saying don't spend at all, but
Right.
being really intentional with where I'm putting my money and
Mm-hmm.
periods where I was kind of just like spending all of it for no reason.
Yeah.
And I like definitely thinking back to it, getting in touch with the way I was feeling was basically how I was able to discern whether I actually wanted to buy something or not.
Right.
Um, because like I went through this cycle where I would just like buy things just because I thought it'd be like nice to have
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. But then like now I look at it, for example, with all my clothes and stuff and my shoes and all of that, I'm like, literally, I've worn some of these things once.
Mm-hmm.
I've worn them once and they cost me hundreds of dollars.
Yes, that was a huge thing that I was like part of my New Year's resolutions. I was like, I need to stop buying shit that I don't need. Like, this needs to
Same.
stop.
Mhm. Yeah, same. And like I just completely ended up shifting my mindset towards like things that are actually going to help me advance
Mhm.
and investing in myself. Like you were saying, I made even like investments that I made that weren't really that great. Like, I bought this
Yeah.
business coaching program and it like didn't really work out how I wanted it to work out, but like investing in that did still change my life and help me grow a lot
Mm.
versus if I had spent that money on like one pair of shoes, you
Mhm.
know? Um which like there's nothing wrong with doing that. Like definitely if you want to treat yourself, like go for it. But I think like for me, I just had to like take a step back and be like, wait, why am I spending as if I make $1 million a year? Because it's like I wasn't really looking at this took me 2 weeks to earn
Mhm.
and I'm just getting it because,
Right. Right.
so like now for me it's like I don't really buy things unless they are really making me happy and I'm like, yes, this is like bringing me joy.
Yes.
It's
Yep.
not about like filling a void, it's about like bringing you joy and bringing you happiness and good feelings.
And it's gonna continue to bring you. Like, it's not just this temporary
Yeah.
thing. Like, usually when I'm shopping, I will look at something, I'm like, "Okay, that's nice, but I don't need it." Like, I can appreciate it, but I don't need it. And then
Mhm.
if there's that one thing that I'm like, I have to have this, I love
Yes.
this, then that thing, then like, okay, I'll let myself splurge on that. But most of the time, we don't realize because we're not being intentional and we don't realize that we're buying these random things that we don't need. I just this week, because I've been having kind of like a little bit of an off week, I went through everything. I went through my entire closet, my entire dresser, like all my drawers, and I cleared out and made space for myself and for my growth. And I just needed to get rid of these other things that were just like clutter. And I was literally pulling things out and I was like, I never wore this. I never used this. I bought two of the same thing. And why? Like that for no reason. And now, because I'm in a different mindset, I don't do that. I can look at something and be like, okay, I need that. And, like shampoo, necessities, but I'm not buying 5 bottles of leave-in conditioner that I don't need. Like,
Mhm.
it's one of those things that it's hard to break that habit. But once you recognize that you're doing that, and then you're like, I don't ever want to do that again. Like,
Mhm.
it's so draining and like of your bank account and having
Mhm.
clutter around you of things that
Yeah.
you literally don't use and you don't even find enjoyment in them anymore,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah. But on the bright side, you know what I do? Um, is like, whenever I feel myself kind of going into a bit of a lack or scarcity mindset, and I'm thinking, oh my God, like I'm not gonna have money, I'm running out of money, blah blah blah. I just
Mhm.
literally look around me at all the freaking shit I've bought, and I'm like, I can sell this
Mhm.
and I'll have money. Like money can take more forms than just physical like dollar bills.
Right. Right.
So, like, speaking of, other things, and you mentioned a lot about how you were clearing out and making space, how can people who are listening right now or watching, how can they, like, make their outer reality reflect what they want to attract?
Yeah, I would definitely suggest getting your manifestation goals in front of you so that you can see them every day and that like visually this is what I'm working towards, along with reading your affirmations and things like that are actually like in your environment are going to improve your mindset just like right off the bat. So being able to visualize what you want, it's like on a sticky note in front of you. You can look at it every day and be like, that's what I'm working towards. That will really help you in your everyday life. Like remind yourself of I don't really need that thing because I already have 5 of it. Or, like I'm gonna use what I have before I go buy a bunch of things that I really don't need. And that way you'll actually be able to stay on track towards your goals, whatever those may be, with abundance and wealth and freedom. It really starts with your environment, but also I'm very organized and like I'm super organized. I like everything to be like, put away nicely. And I'm not someone who really accumulates a lot of clutter, but even the things that I do have that I am just like, I don't use this anymore. I really don't need this. Clearing your space out is just so important. Um, so for anyone who's just like, I need, like, you're feeling just very, what do you, very like congested in a way, clearing your space out is going to help so much so that you can just make room for everything in your life. And that's not necessarily like, I didn't clean out my closet just to go buy more clothes. I cleaned out my closet so I can feel like I don't have like all these, I don't know. It's just it's like a weird way to describe it. I'm like clearing those things out just makes room in your like mental state and your mindset. Almost it's like you're just sweeping out the
Mhm.
dust
Yeah, there's a
in a way.
saying that's saying like a cluttered space is like a cluttered mind, basically.
Exactly. Yeah, like you don't have to think about those things anymore or think about that shirt that you're like, I can't wait to wear that one day when I fit into it again. Like No, just get rid of it.
Yeah, I'm really guilty of that, but also that's
Me
just because
too.
like, my weight fluctuates so much that I'm like, "I don't wanna get rid of it," and then turns out I need it,
Could right. I do the
you
same.
know?
I do
Um,
the
but yeah, okay, yeah, so writing down your intentions and your goals, and something that I've actually, like, seen in my life this week as working really well is writing things down,
Mhm.
because when you write it down, not
Yes.
only are you focusing all of your attention on writing that, but the act of taking it from a thought into a written thing makes
Yeah.
it physical.
Right. Right.
So that is like where all the power is, and I've just now realized that this week, and it's so amazing.
Mhm.
And right now, I just put in front of me my manifestation blueprint
Hell yes.
that I did with you. So if you wanted
Yes.
to walk people through like how they can make their own blueprint for their money to help call it in easier, go right ahead.
Yeah. So the money blueprint is so much fun to like make, honestly. It really helps you recognize where your habits are and where they're coming from, and then you basically rewrite your story. So basically, if like I'll use myself as an example, I growing up, I always had what I needed, and my mom, like she provided me with everything I needed and more, but also it wasn't like I didn't always feel like whenever I wanted something or like needed extra things, I didn't feel like I could just ask her for them. It was like, you don't really need that. You have like five other pairs of jeans. You don't need a new pair of jeans. And like, so I had the things that I wanted, but at the same time, there was like that, I couldn't have what I wanted in a way. And so then, like in my adulthood, as soon as I had turned to like 18, I opened up a credit card. I racked it up, like literally up to like $1,000. And I blew like all this money that I didn't even have yet. Like I literally barely had a job to pay my bills. Um, and I was just spending money like recklessly, like, okay, now that I have all this money, I'm going to shower myself with everything that I want. And then that dug me into a really deep hole. So that was the first step, like in creating your money blueprint, is just figuring out where your habits stem from. And sometimes they can even be like completely the opposite of what our parents resembled for us. So even if, my mom was really good at her money, like with her money, that was why she was like, you don't need these extra things. But to me, I was like, okay, so I'm going to go do the opposite and spend all this money because I couldn't before. So, and sometimes it can be the complete opposite, or sometimes we'll follow exactly their steps. So say our parents demonstrated for us um basically what I was doing, of just buying whatever I wanted whenever I felt like it, and then I get stuck in the cycle of living paycheck to paycheck and everything. If we follow that in our adult lives, we're stuck in the same cycle that they were stuck in and that they demonstrated for us. So it begins with that, of recognizing where it's coming from, and then recognizing how you're, following those footsteps into your everyday life when you're spending money or trying to reach your goals. Like you could put aside like $100 and then you're like, well, I have $100. I'm going to go spend it. Um, so recognizing those habits. And then basically you rewrite what you want to change. Like what is going to serve your highest self? You want to call in a new car. Okay, break it down, and then you write out basically like, this is what I need to do to get there, and you create a new storyline for yourself essentially, so that
Mhm,
you can create those steps that are tangible and they're actually going to help you, that you can follow. It's a
mhm.
breakdown and then a rebuild.
Yeah, and that is what's so important is because, like, you can have this idea of, how you want your life to look or how much money you want to have, but until you actually sit down and make somewhat of a plan for it,
Mhm.
like, it's not just gonna fall in your lap because, like you were saying, you have to take aligned action. And so, for me, my big goal that I'm manifesting for myself is 10,000 recurring cash months. So
Mhm.
that is, after taxes and expenses and everything, 10K in the bank every month. And, you know, for me, it was paying attention to how that made me feel. How does it make me feel to
Mhm.
actually imagine myself having that much money? And to me, it actually was a lot of like stress I was
Mhm.
feeling and a lot of like, I don't know, I just like couldn't really resonate with it. Even though like I
Right.
wanted it, I couldn't really resonate with it because I wasn't seeing how I would be able to do that.
Mhm.
Because to me, it was like, that is such a huge number. Like, how am I ever
Yeah.
going to do that? And so I actually had a session with a coach one time who told me, like, you need to actually, you know, imagine what your expenses are and where you're going to get this money.
Mhm.
So that's basically what I did was I wrote down imaginary me who has $10,000 a month. Like, what do
Right.
my
Right.
expenses look like and what does my income like look like? Where am I getting my money from? And
Mhm.
once I did that, like, those feelings kind of went away because I could see that, hey, this is actually possible and this makes sense,
Mhm.
and then it was
Yeah.
like I was able to detach from like the stress and stuff because I was like, oh, I can see like where I would get that money and I can see
Right.
how I would spend it and how I would continue to build it because, looking at my money plan, I was saying, I'm going to put this much for rent and then like this much for investments, this much I want to give to charities, this much I want to like have for spending, this much I want to have for travel. And it actually became very fun because obviously it's like you're playing in your imagination, it's not happening right now.
Yeah.
But you're letting your mind imagine it and visualize it, which is where the manifestation comes from, is
Right.
putting your intention and your focus on it. So that to me was really beneficial. And
Yeah.
then looking at the income part is like people don't realize that you can make money from different places at the same time.
Mhm.
You don't have to just have one job or two jobs where you're giving your time for money.
Mhm.
You can have a day job if you want one, and
Right.
then you could have like a side business, and then you could do like affiliate marketing, or you could do, have stocks or dividends or something. Like you can do all of
Right.
these things at the same time. And so
Yeah.
for me, when it came to brainstorming that, I just looked at, okay, what are some ideas that I've had of things that I want to do and
Mhm.
how could I monetize them? And then, what potentially would I like to earn from them? And so like through that, I had like all these streams of income that is what was building up to the 10K. And then
Right.
suddenly I was like, oh, it's actually not that hard.
Mhm.
It's completely doable. I just have to take the steps to do it. So then I was like,
Yeah.
okay, these are the ways I can make the money. What can I do to start building these streams? So then it became like, okay, if I'm going to have a podcast, I need to start making episodes and then maybe I can
Right.
get sponsors from that. And then it was like, okay, if I'm going to, have an Etsy shop, what do I want to sell? Okay, I can start doing that. And
Mhm.
then like, if I want to have a YouTube channel or if I want to do this or that, like break it down.
Yeah, break it down just to even like the simplest steps. It's like you just have to figure out what you want and create a map to it, basic.
Yeah. And it
And then
doesn't have to be like a
go
super
from there.
detailed map, It doesn't have to
No.
be like step 1, step 1.1, step 1.2. Like it's
Yeah.
literally just like, you'll know what you essentially need to do to get it done. For example, if
Right.
your goal, like yours, is to have 10K in savings, okay, what can you do to build that up? You can set aside $100 a month. And over
Mhm.
the course of time, you will end up with that, and
Right.
it's like that's that aligned action towards what you're trying to do.
Yep. Yep. Totally.
Yep.
And like even setting aside a few dollars a day to get, which is like one amazing thing that I teach my clients is that setting aside even a few dollars a day just gets you in that habit of putting money towards something that you want in the future,
Mhm.
especially because we're not, a lot of us aren't used to saving money. We're not used to it. Like we're
'Cause we
we're
usually
not
don't have
used
enough
to.
to.
Yeah, and it sometimes it feels like it's just something that's so out of reach, but then it ends up, like, once you're making these super tiny steps, like, even saving $5 a day, you watch it grow, and then you're like, "Damn, that wasn't so bad." Like, that was so easy, and then you make this habit of, like, "I can't wait to put those $5 aside today," and before you know it, you've got $1,000 and you're like, where did it even come from? And it doesn't even feel like you worked harder for it, or it doesn't even have to feel like stressful. It's just like now it's in your normal. And then you're like, okay, what can I do next? Like, can I start saving $10 here or $30 here? And you're like motivated because you see it growing. We live in such a high like reward society, like such a quick, we can look something up and I
Mhm.
mean we can think a
Instant
thought,
gratification, yeah.
instant gratification. Yes, that's what I was looking for. Society. So it's like those taking those small steps helps us see the bigger picture quicker and motivates us to keep working towards those amazing goals of, calling in more money, earning more money, and, buying whatever the hell you want when you feel like it because you know that you have the money set aside. You don't have to feel like you're putting it on a credit card and
Mhm.
weighing yourself down. There's so much that goes into it and it's so much fun, honestly. Like
Mhm.
it all changes when you change your perspective on
Mhm.
making money and calling it in and manifesting all the amazing things. It's all just our own perspective and our mindset that takes us like to that next level.
Mhm. Definitely, and,
Yeah.
like you were saying, that it's really fun because the emotions tied to that are really important in order to bring it in.
Mhm.
Like I was saying earlier with my own story, like, I felt stressed, and
Mhm.
that's was the issue, so I had to change it to be
Right.
like, "Oh, this is exciting now, this is fun, this is,
Right.
something that's going to make me happy," because these emotions are what's going to align you with the money.
Right.
Because if
Right.
you're sitting in like, this lack or this scarcity or this stress or this worry or this doubt, that's just going to be leaking it away
Mhm.
because you're going to feel like you don't have control of it. You're going to feel like, it's just
Yeah.
not something that you can personally hang on to. And so
Right.
that's why it's not going to come to you.
Yep.
Um, so, yeah, I just wanted to emphasize on that as well. And something else that I learned this week that is very powerful is, and you teach this as well,
Mhm.
is setting a deadline
Mhm.
for it,
Yeah.
because it's not like you're just leaving it up to whenever. You're saying like, this is what I want and this is the deadline that I expect it to come to fruition, basically.
Right.
And like, I never used to set deadlines before just because to me that was really stressful because
Mhm.
my how do you say, perfectionism and like need to succeed and overperform was stressing me
Right.
out to be like, oh, I have to do this by this time or like I'm a failure.
Mhm.
And now to me it's like it's not even like a deadline for me, it's more of like a deadline to the universe, basically, to
Mhm.
say like, hey, I'm putting this intention right now that I want this amount and I want it to come by this time. So, like,
Yeah.
set things up for me that I can do it.
Right.
And it's been working for me now, but
Mhm.
before it was just a real struggle.
Yeah, it's really about like the deadline. First of all, I guess like how you were saying you felt stress and anxiety around those things. Those are also those limiting beliefs and those habits that we created
Mhm.
from our, growth through our childhood and our development. So breaking those down so you can change up that story of like I don't feel anxiety and stress when I set a deadline for myself, but also it doesn't have to be so like even if you don't exactly get what you want by that deadline, at least you can look back and reflect and be like, where did I go wrong a little? Or what can I do better next time? And there doesn't have to be so much stress around setting a deadline, but it's just, yeah, like you said, it's like your stamp of the universe. Like, this is what I want. This is what I want it by. And I'm putting in the effort. So meet me halfway here. Like,
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, setting a deadline is so important. I used to fall into the habit all the time of like, just I'll let it happen whenever. Um, and sometimes that can work out as well,
Mhm.
but it's like you still have to do something towards it in
Mhm.
this sense. And I like this past week has been for me, I'm still growing and developing in my manifestation journey.
Mhm.
And I've really come to realize lately that we can still manifest, like, we're still manifesting even with our thoughts. And I know that, but sometimes I'm still like experiencing it. And I'm like, damn, how did I do that? How did I just like call in another $1,000 into my life? And all I did was think about it.
Mhm.
Um, and that's something that literally happened to me this week. And I was just like, where did that even come from?
I know. I've been
You
having
know?
moments like that this week, but it's been with like other things, like we were talking about yesterday, like my
Yeah.
TikTok and stuff like that, which like this is kind of the first time I've tried manifesting anything for social media. So like to see it
Mhm.
actually work, I was like, whoa, what the
Yeah.
heck? Uh, but it's crazy. But like I think too, like the more you go internal and the more that you work through your problems and the things that are holding you back, the easier everything becomes because you no
Right.
longer have all of these hurdles to jump
Mhm.
through in order to get there.
Yeah.
So that's probably why you can just think about it now and it just happens because
Yeah. I'm not like blocking myself in any way. It's just coming to me.
mhm. Yeah, and I think a
Mhm.
huge thing too that I see a lot of people talking about online, which I feel like might lead people to be more stressed and confused about manifesting, but I mean, if you actually understand it, it's true and it makes sense, is like saying things like, well, I guess it depends on the tone that you say it, but saying like, "I wish this would happen," or like,
Mhm.
uh, "If only I had this,"
Yeah.
or, um, even like something new I learned recently is this term called coveting, which is like basically it has to do with kind of like judging or I don't know, like having some sort of like contempt for somebody else
Mhm.
having something that you don't have, basically. So like
Yeah.
I did this healing session and I was talking about, well, I was asked, what would you do if you had all the money in the world, basically?
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, like I would, clean up the ocean. I would do this. I would do that. Like I would make sure that I, put it to good use.
Mhm.
And then I had said like, oh, because the government's not going to do it. And like the practitioner that I was working with, she was like, you can't say those things because you don't actually know what that
Mhm.
person, is actually doing. They could be doing
Right.
good that you just don't see. So it's like by you condemning them, you're also kind of condemning yourself in a way.
Mhm.
Which I don't know why I just felt that that was important to share just now, but it's like there's
Yeah.
so many ways that we don't realize that
Mm.
are affecting our own perceptions and our own ability to have money and to manifest things.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. That resonates so much. Like, of just there can be like so many I I don't know, I'm trying to like think of what I'm trying to say. There can be so many like ways to get there, but I don't know what I'm trying to say.
It's okay. I'm just thinking of like when you do stuff like that, it's kind of an us versus them mentality
Mhm.
instead of one that is like united and saying, hey, this
Yeah.
isn't a person, I'm a person. There's nothing different between me and this person aside from our belief systems and our mindset, pretty much.
Yes, yeah. It's all about, like, switching up the words or, like, just changing the story a little bit so it
Mhm,
benefits you.
mhm. Yeah,
Yeah, I
definitely.
think that's
And
great.
I think, like, finding what actually works for you as well is what's most important because I see a lot of people, trying to talk about writing affirmations and how there's, like, a correct way and an incorrect way. And, like, to me, I personally don't really see it that way
Mhm. No.
because if it's making sense for you, then it's doing its job.
Right,
So
right.
if you feel like it makes sense for you to say and you can believe more to say, "I will have $10,000" versus "I have $10,000,"
Mhm.
then go for it. Because for me, like, saying that, I don't believe it because I know it's not true. So for me
Right.
to just say, "Oh, I will have that one day," it allows me to believe it.
Mhm. One of the, like, great things, I also do the same thing, but I will put "It's on its way to me." That
Mhm.
really makes me feel like, yes, acknowledges that I don't have it just yet, but I'm on my way towards it, and it's on its way to me.
Mhm.
Or, like, just versus saying, "It's already mine. I'm already rich. I'm already wealthy." But then you're like, "But I'm not there yet."
Mhm.
And you just have to, like, create that, like, bridge affirmation of, like, "It's on its way to me," and then it feels much more realistic and
Mhm.
tangible and achievable.
Mhm. Definitely. I feel like I could do a whole episode on just, like, how to make your own affirmations because,
Mhm.
like, yes, you can find them online, but nothing is gonna be as powerful as directly reinforcing what you actually want to believe
Yeah.
based off of the thing that you struggle to believe.
Mhm.
So but I
Yeah.
feel like we're already going really long, so I don't wanna get into that.
Mhm.
But if you guys want an episode about how to make affirmations, let us know in the comments, and I will definitely do it. I would love to. But yeah,
Yeah.
let's just close this out because 'cause it's been a while.
Yeah.
Just wanted to round this all off, your top tips for manifesting money slash, like, just manifesting anything in general.
Yeah, definitely. I would say for manifesting in general, one of my biggest tips is just moving your body, listening to music, moving your body, even just going for a walk. You don't even have to listen to music, but moving your damn body is like one of my biggest things. I don't know why, but like, I guess I do know why. I don't know. Like being stagnant and not actually like moving yourself and making room for yourself, that doesn't get you it, the results that you want. So even just putting in the effort to yourself to feel good, or uplift your mood, going for a walk, just doing some yoga or any kind of movement is like the best way for me to manifest anything that I desire, because it's like that's the first step, and then you feel better, like you're in a better mood, and then now you can work towards your goal because you feel like empowered and amped up, and then you see it come to fruition. So it's like moving your body is one of the biggest manifestation things for me, and I have seen so many people just get so much more like everything that they want just comes to them so much quicker when they're just like freeing themselves in a way and just moving your body, because it's so healthy for you in so many different ways. So movement is a huge thing, and also doing the inner work. Like there's so much to it, but it's like that is one of the biggest things. Even if you don't know where to start, like you don't have to know everything there is to manifesting, to call things into your life. You don't have to know anything practically. As long as you're just like pick a damn goal and you work towards it in some way, you're already manifesting. Or, just raising your vibration in the sense of like movement or journaling, anything that's like developing you and working towards your growth. That's like
Mhm.
the key to it
Mhm.
for me.
Yes, I think, yeah, for me, walking is a thing that really helps me.
Yeah.
Listening to music, dancing, being creative. So, like, even just exploring the arts, you know?
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be you don't have to be a full-on artist, but, like, if you wanna paint, if you want to, color something, if you wanna create something with clay, like,
Mhm.
doing things that are gonna make you happy, those things don't have to make you happy, but let's say, even if, like, just playing video games makes you really happy,
Mhm.
then do that, if,
Yeah.
going and playing a sport makes you really happy, go play the sport
Yeah.
because you're saying, like, you're moving yourself out of that stagnant energy, and
Mhm.
through moving that, you're also, moving your mind to other things
Right.
and freeing up the space of, stuckness,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Well, I think that was a really solid talk.
I think so.
We talked on a lot of things, and I feel like
We
this
could go
is
on forever.
I literally could. There's a million things that I didn't even say that I wanna say, but it's okay. We have a million other episodes that we could do to talk about this because it's definitely not something that you can just, like, chat about for 2 hours and you just get it. Like, it takes, like,
Yeah.
practice and
Mhm.
understanding and learning and then, like, implementing to
Yes.
really get it. So,
Exactly.
if
Yep.
you're listening to this today and you got something new, consider that already a step in the right direction to where you're trying to go.
Definitely. Yeah.
Great. All right. I think we're good to wrap this up. If you guys want to connect with Andrea, I did put her link in the description so you can go check her out and follow her.
Thank you.
Say hi if you want to say hi to her. And then I also have my links and stuff there as well. So, yeah, thank you everybody for coming on and participating and listening. And I hope that you all have a great day. And if you manifest anything from this or you learn something that helps you manifest, leave it in the comments so that we know and we can just like celebrate with you.
Hell yes. Yes. So,
Yes. Okay, great. Goodbye.
bye. Thanks for having me.
No problem.